Some people do not disappear suddenly. They slowly pull away. There is no argument. No dramatic moment. No clear explanation. One day, the energy changes. Replies become shorter. Presence becomes lighter. And eventually, distance replaces connection. From the outside, this behavior feels confusing. Even hurtful. But psychologically, pulling away without explaining is rarely about disrespect. More often, it is about inner conflict. Some people withdraw because they feel overwhelmed, but do not know how to express it clearly. They sense discomfort, but cannot easily name its source. So instead of explaining something they do not fully understand, they create distance. Silence becomes safer than speaking. Not because they want to hurt someone, but because they fear saying the wrong thing. For others, pulling away is a form of self-protection. They have learned, through experience, that explaining themselves too much often leads to being misunderstood. They have tried to communicate in the past. They have explained their feelings, their needs, their limits. And instead of feeling heard, they felt questioned, dismissed, or pressured to change. Over time, they learned that distance creates fewer problems than explanation. There are also people who pull away because they feel emotionally responsible for others. They sense expectations. They feel the weight of being needed, of being depended on. And slowly, that weight becomes too heavy. Rather than confronting it directly, they step back quietly. Not out of coldness, but out of emotional exhaustion. Psychologically, withdrawing without explanation often signals an internal imbalance. A gap between what someone feels and what they believe they are allowed to say. A tension between wanting connection and needing space. Explaining requires clarity. And clarity requires emotional safety. When someone does not feel safe enough to explain, they retreat instead. This behavior is often misunderstood as indifference. But indifference does not require effort. Withdrawal does. Pulling away takes energy. It takes restraint. It takes the constant decision not to engage further. Which means something is happening internally, even if nothing is being said. It is important to understand this without romanticizing it. Pulling away without explanation can still hurt people. It can still create confusion. And it can still damage trust. But understanding the psychology behind it allows us to see it more clearly. Not as manipulation. Not as cruelty. But as a signal. Sometimes, the signal is, I do not know how to be here without losing myself. Sometimes, it is, I am not emotionally equipped for this connection. And sometimes, it is simply, I need distance to think, to feel, to breathe. In quiet individuals especially, withdrawal is often a boundary. A way to restore internal balance without confrontation. They process internally. They retreat to reflect. And only later understand what they could not say at the time. If you have ever pulled away without explaining, it does not automatically make you avoidant or broken. It may mean you were overwhelmed, conflicted, or emotionally tired. And if someone has pulled away from you, it does not always mean you were the problem. Sometimes, it means you were close enough to trigger something unresolved inside them. Understanding this does not remove the pain. But it can remove the confusion. It allows us to see distance not as rejection, but as information. Information about emotional capacity. About boundaries. About timing. Some connections end loudly. Others end quietly. Neither is easy. But silence, when understood, can tell us just as much as words. Inner quiet is a space for observing these moments. Not to justify them. Not to condemn them. But to understand what happens beneath the surface when people choose distance over explanation.